When Justin Madubuike missed the first practice leading up to the matchup against the Lions, it didn't raise too many eyebrows at first. A neck injury? Sure, but after a physical game against the Browns, that seemed like a routine precaution. Nothing to panic about. He'd probably sit out a day, maybe two, then be back on the field with no issues. But then he missed another day, and then another, and then another. And the moment John Harbaugh stepped up to speak on Saturday and didn't give the usual calm reassurances, it was clear, this is bigger than we thought. Harbaugh didn't offer any specifics. No, he's fine. No, he'll be back soon. And definitely nothing close to it's not season ending. Instead, we got the classic signs that something's wrong. He mentioned symptoms showing up after the game, the team not being able to pinpoint a specific play that caused it, and ongoing tests to figure things out. That's never a good sign. When even the head coach seems uncertain, that usually means the situation is serious and still unfolding behind the scenes. And let's be honest here, neck injury and further testing in the same sentence? That alone is enough to set off alarms. This is not a sprained ankle or a bruised rib. This is the neck we're talking about. It's the kind of injury that makes you stop everything and ask, is he going to be okay long-term? Especially when it's happening to a player like Madubuike, who's become such a cornerstone of this Ravens defense. Losing him, even short-term, would hurt. Losing him long-term would be devastating. And the way Harbaugh answered follow-up questions didn't help calm anyone down. When asked whether this was an injured reserve situation, meaning a minimum of 4 weeks out, he said he didn't know. Couldn't comment. That level of uncertainty, especially coming from someone as typically measured and guarded as Harbaugh, is what really set off the panic. Because the last time we saw this much uncertainty around an injury, it was with Lamar Jackson, and we all remember how that ended. He never stepped back on the field that season. Everyone hopes it's something minor. Maybe a precaution. Maybe just doctors being overly careful. Maybe we'll look back in 2 weeks and laugh about how worried we all were. But right now, it doesn't feel like that's where this is headed. Right now, it feels like we're bracing for some bad news. And that's the last thing this team needs. As if that situation weren't enough, there's another mystery playing out in Baltimore, Keaton Mitchell. This one is less about injury and more about confusion. He was activated, ready to go, and fans were hyped. The team even seemed excited to have him back. But for 2 straight games now, he's been inactive. And that's where the questions start piling up. Harbaugh addressed it briefly, saying the team just doesn't have the spot for him right now. He called it a good problem to have, adding that he'd love to see Mitchell on the field. But the real reason came when Harbaugh pointed to Rashid Ali's contributions on special teams as tipping the balance in his favor. That's been enough to keep Mitchell on the sideline. Still, it's hard to ignore the growing frustration, especially when Justice Hill hasn't had the strongest start to the season. Fans are watching him struggle to find rhythm, while Mitchell, known for his explosiveness and game-breaking speed, can't even get a few touches. No one's asking for him to be the featured back. Just a few plays. Just a few chances to do what he does best. But then there's the scoreboard. That's where Harbaugh has his strongest defense. In the 2 games since Mitchell was cleared to play, the Ravens put up over 40 points each time. They did it without Mitchell, without Isaiah Likely, without Pat Ricard, and with an offensive line that's still finding its footing. So if you're in Harbaugh's shoes, you're thinking, why fix what isn't broken? It's a tricky situation. On one hand, you want to see Mitchell unleashed. On the other, the offense has been rolling without him. That's a fact. But the longer he sits, the more fans are going to ask why. Especially if the offense starts to stumble, or if Hill's inconsistency becomes a bigger problem. Mitchell is the kind of player who doesn't need many chances to make a big difference, and keeping him off the field might eventually come back to haunt them. And while we're on the topic of things that could haunt this team, let's talk about the offensive line. With the news of Joe Burrow's injury making waves, a lot of Ravens fans are looking at their own situation and asking tough questions. The first one being, is Baltimore doing enough to protect Lamar Jackson? That turf toe injury that Burrow is dealing with? It's no joke. Some NFL legends have had their careers derailed by it. It affects every cut, every movement, every play. And if something like that were to happen to Lamar, it would be a completely different level of impact. Because Lamar's game is built around mobility. If he can't move, he's not Lamar anymore. So, could EDC make a move before the trade deadline? Could they look for a veteran guard? Maybe. But based on what we've seen from this front office and coaching staff, it's unlikely. Because their main argument is staring us right in the face. The offense scored 41 and 40 points in back-to-back games. And that's with all the offensive line issues we've seen. It's a tough argument to counter. If your offensive line is truly that bad, how are you putting up 40 points every week? And that's the logic the team is leaning on. But anyone who's watching the games closely knows that Lamar is under pressure a lot. He's had to bail this line out too many times already, escaping pressure and creating magic out of chaos. Still, don't expect them to make a drastic move. Maybe they shuffle the lineup internally. Maybe someone steps up. But a big trade? Probably not. They're going to ride this group out and hope for internal improvement. Guys like Ben Cleveland or Daniel Falale might get another look, but even that feels like a stretch. The coaching staff seems locked in on keeping things as is for now. Looking ahead, though, it's hard not to think about the draft. And if this Madubuike injury turns out to be long-term, defensive line shoots to the top of the list. Even if he returns, there's a need for more depth, more youth, more explosion in the trenches. Edge rushers will also be a consideration, with guys like Odafe Owa and David Ohabo hitting free agency soon. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right now, the focus is on the Lions. A team that's no joke. A team that's physical, aggressive, and coming into Baltimore ready to prove something. The Ravens are wearing all black. It's Monday Night Football. The stage is set, but they've got questions to answer. And if they want to be taken seriously this year, it starts with showing up and handling business tonight. The pressure going into this game against the Lions wasn't just about the opponent. It was about perception. The Ravens had already shown flashes of being a high-powered team, but what fans were looking for now was consistency. You can't be taken seriously as a contender if you can't string together wins against quality teams. Beating up on average or rebuilding squads is one thing, but taking down playoff-caliber opponents in prime time? That's what builds belief. That's what builds identity. And that's what was on the line on Monday night. The Lions came in with a lot of hype, and, rightfully so, this wasn't the same Detroit team people used to write off before the season even started. They had been physical, disciplined, and well-coached. Dan Campbell had that group playing inspired football, and the energy around their locker room was different. They weren't sneaking up on anyone anymore. They were expected to win. They were expected to compete. And if you were Baltimore, you had to know that a statement had to be made. But in order to make a statement, the Ravens needed to get out of their own way, especially in the first quarter. One of the most frustrating patterns for Baltimore over the last few seasons has been slow starts. Sometimes it's miscommunication. Sometimes it's penalties. Sometimes it's just poor execution. But whatever the cause, it has cost them momentum early in games and often put them in holes that were too deep to climb out of. That had to change. And this game felt like the perfect opportunity to flip the script. There's something about playing under the lights at home that can bring out a different version of a team. And this Ravens team, when locked in, can dominate. The defense, even without Madubuike, still had enough weapons to cause chaos. Roquan Smith continues to be the emotional and physical leader of that unit, and guys like Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams bring playmaking ability that changes games. And up front, while there might be some depth concerns, the scheme and aggressiveness have helped mask some of those limitations. The goal on Monday was clear: punch the Lions in the mouth early and don't let up. And then there's Lamar. When he's on, he changes everything. It's not just about the stats or the highlights. It's the energy, the command, the confidence he brings to the offense. When he's decisive, when he's seeing the field, and when he's trusting his protection just enough to deliver the ball on time, he's nearly impossible to stop. And what we've seen in this new-look offense under Todd Monken is that they're still figuring things out, still growing into their identity. But the potential is real. The balance between run and pass, the use of tight ends, the movement, they're unlocking more and more every week. Even without Isaiah Likely and Pat Ricard, even with the offensive line still trying to get into rhythm, the scheme has been finding ways to move the chains and finish drives. That's the biggest difference this year. Finishing. The Ravens have always had the ability to get down the field, but putting touchdowns on the board consistently, that's been the missing piece. And if they can keep that going, especially in games like this one, they can start to change the narrative about who they are in the AFC. Still, it's hard to talk about this team without circling back to injuries. That's been the shadow hanging over the Ravens for years now. Every season, it seems like key players go down at the worst times. And that's why fans are so on edge about guys like Madubuike and Keaton Mitchell. It's not just about this game or this month. It's about the full season. It's about January. Because Baltimore has had enough what-if seasons. What if Lamar didn't get hurt? What if the defense stayed healthy? What if they had just one more weapon available in that playoff game? And this year, it feels like there's a chance to finally answer those questions. The roster is strong. The depth is better. The offense is evolving. The defense has been surprisingly stout despite key departures. The special teams unit is still one of the best in the league. All the ingredients are there, but they've got to stay healthy. They've got to manage these situations carefully. And that's why some of these decisions, like holding Mitchell out or being vague about Madubuike, while frustrating, might actually be signs of growth from the organization. The Ravens aren't rushing guys back the way they used to. They're not ignoring warning signs. They're being cautious, calculated. And that might be the smartest play they can make, especially in a season where the AFC feels wide open. There's no unbeatable team right now. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs, but they've looked mortal. The Bills are up and down. The Bengals might not even have their quarterback the rest of the way. There's a real opportunity here for the Ravens to take control. But they've got to be healthy when it matters most. Looking ahead, there's another test on the horizon. The Kansas City Chiefs. And that's the team the Ravens just haven't been able to figure out. Whether it's regular season or playoffs, it always seems like something goes wrong. A missed tackle, a late turnover, a busted coverage. Kansas City has had their number for years, and even though Baltimore did manage to get that one win back in 2021, it took everything they had. Every big play, every lucky bounce, every ounce of effort. That game was a war, and the Ravens barely escaped. Since then, it's been all Kansas City. That's why this stretch is so important. First the Lions. Then the Chiefs. 2 statement games. 2 measuring sticks. If the Ravens can win both, the conversation around them changes completely. No longer just a good team when healthy. They become a serious Super Bowl threat. And that's what this fan base is starving for. Not just playoff appearances. Not just division titles. But real, deep, meaningful runs in January. And to do that, you need to beat teams like Detroit and Kansas City. You need to prove you belong in that upper tier. And that's what made Monday night feel bigger than just week 3. It was about momentum, about showing the league and themselves what kind of team this is going to be. Physical, efficient, explosive, smart. The kind of team that doesn't just ride emotion, but executes consistently. And with the stadium buzzing, the black jerseys shining under the lights, and the pressure dialed all the way up, the Ravens had the chance to put the rest of the NFL on notice. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The NFL world is buzzing today with whispers that could shake the league to its core. Sources close to the matter claim that Shadur Sanders, the electrifying quarterback known for his jaw-dropping plays and unmatched confidence on the field, has reportedly humiliated the Cleveland Browns in a stunning display of skill and poise before making what many insiders are calling a shocking leap to the Baltimore Ravens. The rumor mill suggests that Sanders has agreed to a 4-year deal with the Ravens, a move that could redefine the team's offensive identity and send shockwaves through the AFC North. While details of the contract remain murky, the mere possibility of Sanders donning the purple and black has sent fans and analysts alike into a frenzy. Imaginations are running wild with visions of Sanders orchestrating explosive drives, connecting on pinpoint throws, and bringing a fresh, electric energy to a franchise hungry for dominance. Those who witnessed his recent performance against the Browns claim it was nothing short of theatrical. A masterclass in quarterbacking that left defenders grasping at thin air and fans wondering if they were witnessing the birth of a new superstar. The Browns, reportedly left scrambling after Sanders' display, are said to be rethinking their defensive strategies, perhaps realizing too late that no single adjustment could have prepared them for his blend of athleticism and football IQ. Meanwhile, Ravens insiders are allegedly giddy at the prospect of pairing Sanders' flair with their existing offensive weapons, hinting at a high-octane, fast-paced attack that could rival any in recent memory. Of course, the NFL is nothing if not unpredictable, and until an official announcement is made, this remains a tantalizing rumor. But the chatter is relentless. If true, Baltimore might just have found the quarterback of the future, a player capable of turning games on a dime and igniting a fanbase hungry for playoff glory. As the story unfolds, the league watches with bated breath, knowing that in the world of football, such audacious moves rarely fade quietly. Could Shadur Sanders really be the Ravens' next franchise savior? All signs point to a thrilling, high-stakes drama that is just beginning. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.